Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Outrageously Me, a podcast for outcast and a note to self. Today, I have a very special guest, and she's a writer, she's a travel monger, she is a champion of women empowerment, and she write about the stuff you're afraid to talk about. How powerful is that? She's a very close friend of mine. I have the privilege to spend a lot of time with her in understanding her beautiful mind and thoughts. In certain situations, I turn up to her and she brings in a new perspective. Somebody who writes and expresses in a way where it is both relatable as well as very refreshing. Welcome to our episode, Kavipriya Moorthy. Hello, Kavipriya.
Hi, Sri. Thank you for the welcome. And I also wanted to say that all this was possible because you were open towards letting me talk to you. It was very welcoming for me to say my point of view to you without any inhibitions. And that's why probably we have one of the, best relationships so far. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. It goes both ways, absolutely.
Yeah.
For audience who know Tamil, we also have another podcast channel called Right Angle Triangle. And Kavi and I, we have spoken in almost 11 episodes now. We have
Yeah.
so much fun talking in Tamil. The reason why we wanted to do another podcast in Tamil specifically is that because we thought the ideas and thoughts that we express in Outrageously Me needs to be translated to Tamil as well, more so even other topics as well, which is not in the confinement of how one find oneself authentically and how one meets oneself and how oneself can improve the way they view themselves and be leaning into the superpower of being you. So that's what it is all about. And today we have a special topic. We're going to talk about how self-expression is going to help in terms of identifying and understanding and meeting the self. And I want to start with a beautiful poem Kavi has written. I know I'm taking some time away from you guys, from Kavi, because I'm setting up the stage here, and I know how beautiful her words are, and I want you to understand the reason why she is here and why she is going to talk about how beautiful it is to view oneself. And this poem is very a good reflection, I would have to say, about finding yourself and how being if you're a woman, how you think yourself as a badass woman. So this is the poem. Go meet a fucking badass woman, she who knows what her fingers can do, she who cares about her sexual well-being, she who wouldn't need a marriage certificate to get laid, but just mutual consent. Wow. The one who straightens her middle finger for the right reasons and the wrong men. The length of her skirt and color of her tights doesn't define her. She's enigma, chaos, louder than ever. She runs like a lady. She needs no mustache to slap the mace layers. She needs no arms to crush chauvinism. She needs no man to run behind the other who snatched her purse. She needs no safety whistles around her neck. Ladies' compartment is not where she belongs. She buys her own pads and also few condoms. She cares for none but herself. Her eyes would scan and thaw the hands that try to touch her wrong. Go meet a fucking badass woman. Wow. Let's start right here. When did you choose to write this poem, and what was the circumstances, and what came onto you when you chose to describe a badass woman?
I think it was about time where they were forcing a lot of self-defense classes on women when things go wrong, when there's a case on sexual harassment and assault. So it was as if like they're picturing that women should learn self-defense, go to karate classes, or like learn something that will help them guard themselves. So to be a part of this world, to be a part of the society,
Hmm.
if a woman has to learn self defense to even live her normal day to day life without her having any interaction with anyone, that was kind of like a strong push down their throats. Like, and also it takes a lot of privilege for someone to go and take these self-defense classes. So it felt like a part of victim blaming, saying, you got harassed
Mhm.
because you didn't know
Mhm.
self-defense. So that's when I think I wrote this post.
Fantastic. So let's take us back to the point where you started your self-expression. And I know you wrote a lot of poems, and you wrote two beautiful books. And the journey of you writing articles in newspaper, writing for books, writing poems, writing online, inspiring
Yeah.
millions of people. Where did it all start for Kavipriya?
I think it started way back in college when I was like writing on pen and paper basically. And I did not even know that I have this gift of writing back then. But it was some of my friends, and they started noticing me, and they told me it feels like, you can do something better with what you're doing. And that's when it started off. And from there, I think I started posting on Facebook initially. Just like regularly, whatever I write on paper, I was posting it there, and slowly it gained momentum. And that kind of like I received both criticisms and good opinions, and it was well rounded. It was important for me to take in all the feedback, and then it helped me only work better on my craft. So yeah, that's how it started, and it keeps going till now. Yeah.
So when is the moment you realized you're a writer? Oh yeah, this
Uh,
is happening.
yeah. I think as a part of my professional journey, I also took professional content writing for uh, I didn't want to work at that point of time. So I was doing a
Hmm.
lot of content writing. I was doing ghost writing. I was writing on behalf of someone else and everything. So at that point, I felt like probably, I think I published one ebook that I wrote got published, but since I was a ghost writer, it was published under a different name. Of course, I got paid for it, but it felt like, there should be something out in my name because I wrote it. So that's
Hmm.
when I thought, okay, maybe we should give it a try. And I didn't think much at that point of time. I just wanted to write something. I didn't have much guidance or anything. Maybe a couple of writers I befriended, and from there I just published my first book. And only after that I started working better on my craft because the book was out there, and there were a lot of people who read it and gave me good feedback. And based on that, I started working on it even. I mean, I never wanted to back down at any point, like regardless of what sort of criticism I'm getting. So that kind of made me realize that I'm rooted towards this, and I want to do this wholeheartedly. It was not another, just it was not professional for me, and I understood that I am passionate towards it because there were certain points where I couldn't write on certain topics even if
Hmm.
they asked me to. So
Yeah,
that's when I started to work towards understanding what is my area, what is my niche, and what I am good at, where my experiences come from, and that started putting things together. And yeah, I started.
fantastic. That's fantastic. So I know you write about women empowerment a lot, and you also write about the intersectionalities of majority and minority, and how everybody interacts with everybody and what is right. And you have a very good moral compass about equality and equity and women empowerment. How did you come to the sense of this niche, and what did inspire you to become this version of yourself where you're putting out there?
I think it naturally came to me when I was writing about certain topics when I have experienced it firsthand. And I found it even more easier to write, and the flow was really good because I know deep down
Mm.
about the experience. And rather than learning about the experience or learning
Yeah,
about it, reading about it, I think when it comes from me, it was very natural. It was hard hitting sometimes because there were some raw information on what I have gone through, and with all the experience, I think that's how it kind of went towards women empowerment. Because I think I was a feminist even before I realized I'm one, because I was
mm,
rebelling towards the oppression that was on me based on my gender. So each and every time when I fight back, this kind of came into picture where it was important for me to voice out, because that's when I can break break the oppression that is on me. And I thought if with all the privileges that I have, if the oppression is strong on me, I can only
Mm.
imagine what women without these privileges would go through, and with
Wow.
what other minorities would be going through. And that kind of helped me to pitch in towards this niche more.
Fantastic. I see a lot of similarity between our brands. We both write from our own experience, and the content comes
Yeah.
from us. And we also write from a stand where um, we have gone through something, some experience, and we don't want anybody else or
Mm,
the people on the similar sectors to go through the same thing as we have gone through. Um, that's fantastic. But when somebody asks me, who do you write for? And the first thing I would always say is, I'm writing for myself. Even if nobody
yeah.
reads it, I'm writing for myself. I'm writing for the version of youngest version of myself who needed somebody like me to be there out there speaking about the things that I speak. Who do you write for?
I think it's the same with me. I kind of write for me initially, and there are times where I receive some feedback. Somebody would ping me on Instagram or DM me saying like, I read this post and it hit home, and I started crying reading this post and everything. So that's when I realized, okay, this has impact on people, whoever reads it, and I have no control over like who's going to read it or how they're going to feel about it. It's like because my limit is just this. Whatever I know at that point of time is whether I'm able to express everything that I want to express. It's
Mm,
just like putting it out of my system, because um, that also helps in a way to just put myself in a calming demeanor. Like it calms me down when I write. It's like I put something out of my system and
wow.
I'm doing good. So when I receive feedback from other women, especially, and if it is heartfelt, I mean, I understand there are people who go through very similar things with in the same timelines and everything. So I understand that there will be some sort of people who will understand what I've written, and there will also be a group of people who have no idea what I've written. So even today morning, I received someone texting me saying, "You know what? I used to follow you from Facebook, and there are a lot of times my mindset changed based on what you've written. Like I
Yeah.
was a hypocrite at times and all that." So I don't write for this. Like I mean, in no way I'm trying to change people's mind or anything, but it is just a rippling effect, right? Like you do something genuinely for it, and that kind of created these ripples where people started liking you for what you write, because it's not easy to change someone's mind based on a paragraph or something, right? So when that
Yeah.
really happens, it kind of has a good impact.
Fantastic. And how has it changed when you started writing and you have this imagery of an outrageous woman and
Mhm.
she's a fucking badass and we can swear in this podcast by the way. And she knows what she wants and she has a sense of where she's going and she has the head over her shoulders and everything. Do you see yourself to be that woman or do you want to be that woman? How do you see the relationship between you and to the persona that you're writing?
I think it's been like this persona building. It changes with every version of what post I'm writing about. Like there are times where I write for the younger version of me. There are times I write about
Wow.
what what as a child I went through, like the covered child that I was when certain things happened. So it was as if I'm as an adult trying to heal the younger version of me, and in
Wow.
that process, like. I mean, at any point of time, I've never looked at myself as like the badass woman or anything. But
Really?
but when people tell me, it's like, I mean, I don't have control over what the other person is going to think of me when they're reading a piece of my poem.
Mm.
But yeah, if for me, it's like I'm not rebelling against any of the version that is coming towards me. Like uh, whatever the picture me as, I'm still okay with any version that they want me to be in. So yeah, it's mostly for the younger version of me for going through all these things and then coming out of it. I've never envisioned myself as the badass woman that I write about at all.
Fantastic. So now there's the million-dollar question. How does what you write has influenced who you are?
I think with respect to my moral compass, it was very important for me that I put um, uh, the oppression first. Like when I try to work on a piece of form that is talking about oppression, I cannot care about the privileges the privileged people who will get hurt by that piece of form. I should not regard their feelings over the oppression, which is like a strong rooted thing. So that was the challenge I initially had, because if I try to write a piece of work based off not wanting to hurt anybody, I don't think I'll be able to write what I'm writing. It's always I can't mellow down a piece of poem just so that others' feelings are not hurt. When I'm trying to write from a point of oppression, my focus is only that, and my moral compass sticks with the oppressed people.
But then, how does it, like, when you, after writing something, did it change something within you and the way you see yourself as it happened to you? If so, can you narrate that sort of an experience as to what you write as direct validation or direct influence of who you are becoming as a person?
I think when I'm working on a piece of post, it kind of sometimes it comes very naturally to me, and sometimes I would know that there is something in me that wants to come out. There is a post in the making, but I wouldn't know what I'm actually searching for. So
Yeah.
I'd be searching to understand. Okay, there is something that's coming at me. I want to write about something that's there, but I can't put a name on it. So
Mhm.
at those times when I'm searching within myself to understand what I'm trying to write, that kind of has evolved me as a person. So, writing a piece of poem and then understanding from my moral point of view whether this was right or wrong. And
Mm.
I'm, not, I mean, more than being right, I want it to be genuine.
Mm.
I want it to be
Genuine.
authentic. So that's the only thing I want. Like it could have flaws, but whether it is authentic or not is the only thing that I look at. And I think the authenticity of each of these posts that I've written has only made me evolve into the person that I am now.
Fantastic. So when we talk about authenticity, we also have to talk about fictional characters that we build in
Yeah.
stories. Like you have written fictional characters in your
Yes.
stories. So how does this process of crafting fictional characters or narratives contribute to deeper understanding of oneself?
I think it about when I'm doing a fictional character, it's not going to be 100% fiction always. There is an
Yeah.
impact from people I meet, people I converse with. It could be like a random person I just met at a coffee shop who just crossed me, and something about them would have been intriguing. And there are also times where I see a movie and I feel like this character of this person kind of helps with the book that I'm writing about, and I would use that character sketch. So it
Mm.
has I usually combine a couple of character traits that I'm looking for in a person, and that kind of helps in my world building and what I'm trying to accomplish with that particular story.
Shifting gears, we recently talked about a movie called Kadal, and
Yeah.
you fell in love with the lead character, the female character.
Yes.
She's a stoic housewife, and she helps her husband come out, and she helps her husband be himself, and she also liberates herself from the marriage and how the whole process goes along. And you had so much to say about her, and you had so much information from our world as if you have seen through our lens. And I was quite surprised because we both have watched the movie and we can see so much from a character. But then, how do you character study so well, and how that does reflect into the versions or values you take to develop your own self?
I mean, I try to see the differences in me on how I am reacting to situations itself. I think if at all the character of Jyotika in the movie was not a 45-year-old woman who is a mother to a 18-year-old, and if she's like, let's say, early 20s from a very rebellious family, from a progressive family, she would have not reacted the same way. Like she would have wanted to come out of the marriage very early,
Mm.
because there's no connection with the husband as well. Like in the end of the movie, in Kadal the Core, there is a platonic relationship between the leads. But in the early 20s, if she had realized that the husband is gay at that point of time, I don't think she would have been the stoic person that she is right now. There would be a lot of rebellious actions from her end. So I was also seeing that, like, I was trying, because how I have reacted to situations when I was in my 20s and 25s, and how I'm reacting now in my 30s is like very different.
Mm.
And how I mean, I'm working on my emotional reaction towards certain situations as well. There are times in my early 20s I was like very very loud, I was very angry, I was this angry woman who rebelled against a lot of things. But now I don't have those emotional reactions. It kind of went to a point where, like, is it even worth it? I don't want to give this emotional reaction right now. And I'm also looking at what the other person would go through if I have an emotional reaction to this, how it would affect them. Is it better to be quiet right now rather than have a reaction to it, which will affect the entire? I mean, it could be a killjoy at certain situations. So all this started playing a role. For me, when I see that I was very different between the 20s and 30s I am now, I could see the same thing in the character sketch of certain movies, right? So at that point of time, it felt like, okay, this toy character comes to Jyotika because of all the things that she endured.
Mm.
Yeah, so just with that, I was able to figure out what kind of character sketch they wanted her to be in this movie, because that's the anchor of the movie. That stoic nature of hers is how the movie is built on. So that was very necessary for her to do it in the right way. Not seeing her smile a lot or laugh a lot, being that being very to herself, being quiet and just doing her job types. So that's how I kind of figured that character study is more important when I'm working on a movie review or looking at a film. Yeah.
In even in this conversation, you put yourself out there and you talked
Mm,
about your 20s and the way you would react now. And even in the recent post in your Instagram, by the way, readers, if you're listening, she writes in a tag called add some curry leaves. So that's the Instagram handle in which she writes from, and go follow her. She writes beautiful content, and every time I open my page and there's a new post, I cannot help but run to the post and read it, find my glasses and read it if I'm sitting in the bed. The writing is so powerful and deep. But a lot of writing, even in the latest one where you talk about your mental health and you talk about how people, when they come into your home, how do you show it around, and versus how do you show around your mental health as well to the people who come in, that was quite vulnerable to put out there.
yeah.
So I want to ask you about the vulnerability of this self-expression, and especially because I'm also in the same journey as you. I also
Mm,
write a lot about myself, and there's a there comes the power to people to hurt us with what they read out of our lives because we are all vulnerable out there. Let's
yeah.
talk about vulnerability and self-identity and how it all plays a role in your writing.
Mm. See, I understand that 100% because I think in one of my previous posts, I have written about, I think mostly I write a lot about the generational trauma that comes with uh, parents and emotionally unavailable parents and how it impacts us, having narcissistic parents and all that. So there are some of very close friends who know my parents as well, and they did not take it well. They reacted in a different way. So that kind of had an impact on me. So from at that point, I was very conscious about what I'm writing about. But for me, I think more than being vulnerable, I was looking at it from an angle where I see if I'm authentic about this post. Would there be someone who has a similar experience with their parents, understand that it's not their issue, like it is not, the problem is not them in that situation. It could be because of the generational trauma, it could be because of the mother being a narcissist or being emotionally unavailable. I wanted to keep that away, like I understand where most of my posts are also related to my life here and there. So when I'm meeting a friend after a long time, they might feel like they know a lot about me just with the
Mm.
post if they are reading it. It almost feels like they have a blueprint of my brain. So the entire conversation is driven towards, I know so much about you. Like, even for example, on dating apps, if I swipe someone and they find out my social media handle, and then have a conversation with me. It feels like I am talking to a total stranger, but the person feels like they know me all their life.
Wow.
So for
Different
me,
kind of problem, isn't it?
yeah, so I was like, and there are people who don't post a lot on social media, like maybe a couple of pictures here and there because that's what they want out there. And I understand that we all use social media differently. And I understand from my standpoint as a writer, this is how my profile is going to be. There's
Mm,
no way out of this, and it comes with its own pros and cons, right? So uh, sometimes some people would feel like I'm not the person who I'm writing, like I have a different character altogether. It's because I'm not writing everything that's happening in my life. You envision that as if I do. There are so many parts of me that I don't show out. There are so many parts of me that I don't write about. There are very strong relationships that I have in my life that I never post on social media. I keep it to myself and all that. So it kind of feels like they look at it in a very narrowed angle. But it also feels like, let's say we like a director who we see from their first movies.
mm,
When we watch that 10th movie or 25th movie, we are not going to reel back to the first and feel like this is what is from the director's life or anything. People are going to move on with every post that we write. So that kind of helps me to understand like it's not my responsibility to go tell them that my personal life and what I'm writing is separate, or like there is very little from personal life there or anything. um, because the greater good is there are people who relate to it who are not related personally to me, who
mm,
benefit from it as well. So, and also it helps a lot for me to take it out of my system. When I put it on paper, it gives me more clarity on what is going inside me, and that
mm.
helps me to convey things better. So yeah, I think that I focus on that more than all the other troubles that's coming with it.
So I love what you've said in this conversation. Writing it in paper gives you the clarity what goes on within your mind.
Yeah.
Has there any times where you are not really sure about certain thing about yourself, but writing did help?
Yeah, it has always helped me a lot because I'm going to therapy for the last few months, and that has given me more clarity towards what I am as a person. So the first thing that therapy does is to make you understand why you do certain things, and
Mm,
the first thing they teach you is that you do something because you wanted to survive that situation. You do
yeah.
something because you wanted to be safe within your body. You wanted yourself to be safe at that point of time.
Mm,
So that kind of gave me more empathy towards what I'm going through. Plus, I'm also able to share the empathy with the other person who might not have reacted in a way that I would appreciate, but still, I understand they were also trying to survive that situation. They were also trying to heal from something. It is coming from deep within in some areas that we don't know. Sometimes my
mm,
reactions would, I mean, I wouldn't even know that this is a trigger or this is a response from a trauma
mm,
or anything. So
mm.
that has helped me a lot. So when I write something, when I put it out there, there are times where it helps me to look at it from a different angle as well. So that kind of helped me a lot in certain areas.
Wow. And what I've also learned from this conversation is that when you have mental health issues, writing really helps, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it could be anything, any form of self-expression is going to help. I mean, writing in a way, since it is structured and it is going to bring out what is inside you, it might look
Mm,
like it is helping a lot of us. For me, more than writing, I find doodling even more therapeutic.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do that kawaii doodling at times where because I felt like I have attention deficiency, so I wanted to bring my attention to something. And doodling was the only thing where I can sit and do something for 20 minutes without any distractions. And that has a brought that brought a lot of self-expression out of me. I would do a lot of doodling, and I think there are people who bake a lot. They make cookies and cakes. So self-expression need not just be writing, but whatever we do that makes us feel better uh, at that point of situation, which is going to help us survive that situation, is a form of self-expression.
It's from the last two conversations, it feels almost like self expression helps in understanding ourselves better, and that helps in clarifying and being ourselves better. Would you see that kind of a equation from what you're doing as well?
I kind of think I do because even when I talk to my friends or my therapist, the only thing that they tell me is you're able to tell what you want to say
Hmm.
in a structured manner, which some of us might not have the same gift. So that helped me to put out a lot of things, and even at moments where I feel very vulnerable, or when I feel like maybe there is something wrong with me, even then, because I've always explain a situation, there are times where people tell a story only from their point of view, which shows them as the angel in the situation. But I but I have always explained a situation where I also put myself in the fire and say, I did this, and then this person did this. So I was able to pull myself out of the situation, put just me, and say, I did this thing. This was not right, but at that point of time, it
One
felt
of the
right and I did
characters.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
one of the
able to. Yeah,
characters.
I don't know how I'm able to peel that off from me, but it has always been easier, and the most of the credits goes to the person who's listening. Also, they are open to understanding that I am flawed and I have done certain things. So that kind of helped me a lot as well.
Fantastic. I remember once when we had a walk in Toronto with our dog as well. And at the time, you didn't have a dog, but you visited us, and we were walking to beach. And then on the way back, you said you're going to catch up, but I mean, you actually found a table to sit, and then you started writing a post, and you wrote something very wonderfully in like 15 minutes, and you caught up to us. I see there is a rush in you expressing something. It's almost as if like there is a time bomb ticking in your head, and there is a moment that comes, and then you write about it. How does this expression, self-expression, happens within your mind?
I think there are times where, especially when I'm in front of water bodies, be it beach or be it a waterfall, I would I would just stand there and literally write a poem in my mind. The
Mm,
words would just flow, and if I leave that momentum, I'll never be able to write that again. There are times where I sleep on a post a lot. Like there would be a thought for me, and I would keep going around it. I wouldn't write on it immediately, but I would sleep on it, and then it would keep coming back a couple of times, which will tell me there's no way this is not going to be. I can't let this go. I have to write. Only then this will get out of my system. So it was almost like it just comes at me at times where I have no other choice but to write. And it is very hard to explain this to someone who doesn't write or who doesn't read. They're not going to understand it 100%. So, and it's a part of the process only. So it's like if something wants to be written, I feel it that way when I connect it with how the universe is trying to do this to me. Like it's like it wants this out of me, out of my system, and I write it. Like there are some poems that never cross 100 likes or something, but that's not the point at all. I cannot keep going with my life when there is a idea that is sticking to me, and if it
mm.
wants to come out. So that is the main reason. And there are times where I cannot do anything else but to stop whatever I'm doing and to work on that post. So yeah.
Okay, so another $1 million question coming your way. What does outrageously me means to you as a person?
I think being outrageously me is being authentic with all the flaws, with all the rights, and with all the wrongs that we did. Being able to uh, put ourselves out there, uh, being authentic to people, and show them that there are different versions of different people that we see. For me, it's always that. For when I write, the only thing that I look at is whether it is authentic, whether it's coming from my experience, whether it is a part of an experience that I've been told about, whatever people share with me. Is there something that's authentic about the post? That's the only thing that I look at. I don't
Mm.
look at anything else that comes with it. If at all I do something like that, it's gonna look very fabricated and very, yeah. So it doesn't work with me. So that's why I don't worry about anything, not the number of followers, not the number of likes, not the number of books that get sold. There is
It's
nothing I can do about it. So
Yeah.
What is in my control is bringing out the authentic post that wants to be written, and that's it.
Wow, that's really, really beautiful. And it is very clear that the self expression has helped you in the way you see yourself and the way you express yourself and everything. Many people do struggle with self expression. Many people keep it to themselves. And if they are working on their authentic self, how this self expression can be of help to them, and what are the tips you would give them?
I think they can start with journaling, because that's how it started for me as well. When I was able to put out there without having the fear of being judged, without wanting to be right all the time, that kind of pushes us out of the zone that we want to be in. Like, even if you had made a mistake, being able to put it out there and said, like, this feels like a mistake, I did this, but these were the reasons. This was the situation I was in, and that was the only way that I could survive that situation. So I did it. So that
Mm.
kind of takes out the guilt from that situation. I think mainly when you're putting it out there, when you're expressing, and when the guilt is out of you, it gives us a even more clearer picture on what actually happened. And
Mm.
there is no situation where you're right and the other person wrong, or they are right and you're wrong. It's always a 50-50. There is no black and white. There is always shades of gray everywhere.
Mm.
So to understand that, self-expression really helps. Like when you write it out, when you put out in words, or when you draw, or when you do a doodle, it kind of brings out everything that you want to express, and that helps you to look at a situation, learn from it, and move on. And that's what I think is the base of life. Like, you learn, you move on, you teach whatever you learn to someone else, you pass it on, and then leave. That's the only thing that I look at life as. So that kind of helps.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. As a writer, you must be reading a lot of books. What are
Yeah.
few books you would suggest our audience?
I think recently I read a book called Weightless, which was really
Weightless.
nice. Yeah. And it was about a person being in a bigger body and their experiences in life. And I think, like, when I was reading the book, it spoke about being someone who is in a bigger body. And when you experience sexual assault, you don't feel like, talking back to them and saying, like, this is not right, because you feel like you deserved it because you are fat.
Wow.
And that hit a nail for me. It was like, how many times has this happened, and how many times I've been quiet about these things. And the most important factor of all this has been my body. For me, it was like, I felt that I'm fat and probably I deserve this. So that kind of some experiences from people who write. I especially love Black women who write on the repression, because it has a lot of layers. And as a brown
Mm.
person who's also oppressed, I'm able to relate to it a lot. And I
Mm.
know there is another couple layers of oppression that they are going through. So it is even more authentic when it is coming from them. And sometimes when I go to these slam poetry where I participate, when Black women do their poetry, I don't feel like doing my piece at all, because it would feel very small in front of what they have gone through. But it's still a part of learning and experience and everything. So for me, I focus a lot on reading those books. I like Roxane Gay, as I've said before. And recently, one of her books is called Opinion. And she writes about the same experiences that I have about writing my opinion out loud there, and the repercussions that I have to face because of some people. It was really nice to read out and say, like, if I'm burning a bridge because I wrote something, maybe that's not the bridge I wanted anyway. So that kind of, like, put me at ease to feel like it was right to do that. Like, if me writing about a certain oppression is burning a bridge, maybe because the bridge was built on the privilege that they have,
Mm.
and being able to misuse the oppression that is on me. So
Got
it was really lovely to, I always go through most of the books written by Black women, especially, and a lot of personal essays, because personal essays are very, very strong. And I was reading a book called Untying the Apron.
Hmm.
It has 50 essays, poems, and stories about women on generational trauma, and there was so much information on what women go through in their generations, what their mother taught them, and everything. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Those are really, really wonderful books. I will probably put them in the comment section for people to, go and refer these books. That's fantastic. Um, I really want to ask you one last question. Like, many people struggle with being authentically themselves. From you, from the understanding of how your writing has helped you, what would be the advice you have for them?
I think being authentic to yourself means you're holding on to you. You're not losing yourself.
Mm,
That is more important, not losing yourself. And if being vulnerable and if being authentic about something helps you to hold on to the version of you, it's worth everything.
wow,
Yeah.
wow. That's really deep. I had to take a moment. I really want to thank you for coming on the show. We talk every day, almost every day, but to be able to sit here and to listen to you and to put you on the seat where I would usually put my guest, and to be able to listen from you as to how your writing has helped many as well as yourself. That's really quite exhilarating, and I think I've seen a different shade of you today. And thank you so much for showing me and sharing this vulnerable side with me and to the audience today.
Yeah, I mean, I should thank you for giving me the space, be it in our personal relationship or in Outrageously Me podcast, to give me the stage. And I think I have the confidence that I can be myself with you and with the Outrageously Me. I mean, that plays a very key role in me being authentic as well. So I
Yeah.
should thank you for that.
Oh, you are absolutely welcome. I always say this to people who ask me, how this personality kind of helps others. And one thing I always tell people is that if I'm outrageously myself, I give the invitation to be outrageously themselves for the people around me. And
Mm.
that's always the way I see it. And thank you so much for validating that. Uh, Thank you so much for coming on the
Thank
show.
you.
And it's been a great talking to your audience. I'll meet
Yes.
you in another episode of Outrageously Me. If you like to contact Kavi, there will be information in the comment section. As I said, go and follow her in Instagram at some curry leaves. She does wonderful job of penning down things for betterment of women and everybody out there, honestly. Thank you so much, Kavi, for once again for coming
Thank
on the
you.
show, and have a great
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, you too. Bye.